The most common reason why my nutrition clients might fail is not because they don't know what they're doing or they don't have the information. It's actually because they tend to give up when things get really uncomfortable. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why that discomfort is actually a sign that you're on the right path, because you can use that to your advantage instead of letting it derail you. I'm Coach Danny. I'm a nutrition coach thinking about all things wellness that helps women not just focus on the weight loss and the scale, but also focus on what are healthy habits that help me feel better and help me feel confident in my day-to-day choices so that I know exactly how to fuel my body and I know exactly how to make me feel better again. Okay. So my one client, Noreen, for example, she had diabetes, she struggled with depression, and she did not let those things waver her success. She ended up losing 40 pounds at the end of it all. And did she lose it all at once and like this? No. We actually had two stints of working together where, she had to focus on habits in the first year, and then she had to go try them on her own and then come back and continue to practice those things. Like, could it have been a derailing to just not do anything and just say, I have diabetes or I have depression and I can't get through this? No, she showed up for herself and said, okay, what are the small things that I can start to do for myself to help me get to that next step, even if they are uncomfortable, right? So I've worked with over 100 women who have struggled with this as well. And I've noticed that one common pattern, which is that those who embrace the discomfort or the suck of it all, right, they succeed. And those who run away from that discomfort and want to run away from the pain, they continue to feel stuck. So let's talk a little bit more about like why growth is always going to involve pain. It's inevitable, right? So when we think about the biological or physiological reasons why change is so uncomfortable, well, when you think about it, your brain is always assessing the potential threats, right? So when there's change happening, then our brain sees that new thing, that new habit as a potential threat. So, for example, like tracking your food, changing your eating habits, those are new things that your brain's trying to figure out if they're potential threats. So, naturally, your mind is going to create some resistance. Okay. So, three stages of discomfort. Stage one being that you're going to always have that like new change, honeymoon phase. Like it's that initial excitement that, like, oh, this is new change. This is exciting. Like we can do this. And that can last a different duration for either different individuals. Okay. So depending on where that extra resistance comes in, where that next big change is, then you'll start to get into that stage two, which is that struggle. That's where the most people quit, right? So when we are in the honeymoon phase, we're like, I can do this, I can make these changes, things are going good, they're meeting little resistance. And all of a sudden there's going to be a point where there's the struggle, right? And you're going to go, I can't keep going. This is like one step too far, right? And that's where it's like you can either, run away and back off and be like, I can't do this, or you step to the side, or maybe you make an adjustment to make the step a little smaller so that it can feel more achievable, so that that struggle can start to get smaller. Okay. And then we go into that third phase or stage of, you know, integration. So that kind of builds from that stage two, depending on how we react to that stage two, that integration into being like, okay, how do I sidestep? How do I make that step smaller? And then that's where your results can become so much more sustainable, because you're not trying to force something that feels super resistant. You're trying to adapt it so that it can actually feel realistic for you, so that you can actually make changes and not feel that resistance that feels like a potential threat because it feels too big, right? So um, there's a lot of times where, if you're feeling like, oh man, I'm going on a trip and I don't know how I'm going to face this, I'm just going to like stop thinking about my health in general. I'm just going to go on my trip and just like toss it to the wind. And I have a client, Lindsay, who was going to Mexico. She's like, I don't know how I'm going to even like set goals while I'm there. I said, okay, well, what's one thing that you can focus on while you're there? And she says, well, I can make sure that I'm getting enough water in, and I'm sure there's going to be protein sources that I can have from the buffet. So I can do that. And so by looking at a situation where she was like initially like, I don't know how I'm going to manage this, into, you know what? She didn't come up with one thing, she came up with two. So she's like, I can manage my water and my protein and I can be okay with the rest of it. So being okay with the rest of it is what helped her adjust and adapt so that that felt like an integration versus a resistance for her to meet those goals without having to feel like, oh, this is one step or the other, right? So that's really the key of like navigating growth discomfort is, expecting and welcoming the fact that there's going to be discomfort. There's going to be a bit of pain and resistance when you're going through progress, right? And if you're focusing just on like the small 1% and, the tiny little tasks that feel like they're getting you to that next point, that's where the magic is going to happen. Because if you say, I can't do 10%, I'm going to do nothing, then you're missing out on that 1, 2, 3%, right? So we're missing a big gap. And that's where, things like having a bit more accountability and support is really helpful to help you manage like the expectation and to be able to adjust on the fly and say, okay, I'm feeling a lot of resistance here because this is big change. How can we pull it back and make it a bit smaller and more achievable so that I feel more confident throughout this process, right? So when we're looking at why we're having discomfort, we can really assess like what is creating this discomfort, take a step back, look at it, say, okay, what's the adjustment that needs to be made? And having a coach go through that with you and talk through that. Sometimes it's just about talking through it, right? Is helpful in managing that and seeing it as that discomfort as like a piece of data and understanding, okay, why is that happening? And not as a reason to stop because it's too much, right? It's like if it's too much, then how do we need to adjust that? So remember, like, if new habits are starting to feel uncomfortable and if there's things that feel like a lot of resistance and you feel like you just should give up, it's like, okay, maybe I shouldn't give up. Maybe I should just adjust my expectations or adjust the things that are I'm currently doing and the habits that I have to better understand where I can push through discomfort or like work around it, right? So um, it's really all about having that plan in place and having the structure and the accountability to say, okay, how do I manage this versus just trying to do it all on your own because you know what you need to do. It's just a matter of how to adjust it to better suit you so that you can continue to grow and reach the goals that you want to reach instead of just always backing out when things get tough. Okay. So I want you to think about, okay, am I in a discomfort place? And what's that one thing that could help me push through it? And maybe it's having a coach, maybe it's having someone to hold you accountable. So if you're ready to take that next step and say, okay, I understand that there might be some discomfort, but how do I manage that and how can we work together to get through that? Then I'm going to drop a link in the description below for you to click and we can book a call and you can chat with me. Tell me about what's super uncomfortable for you right now. What's the struggle? And let's try and make a plan to work through it so that you can feel really confident and so that you can hit your goals and feel like these habits are no longer a sticking point for you, that they're just a part of your life now and they actually make sense for you. So go ahead and book a call down below and I'd love to chat with you. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you're loving this content. I love to hear your feedback down below as well in the comments. If there's anything that you took away from this video today that you could apply to your journey as well. Thanks, guys. Peace out.